Hey Tiffany, how you doing? Remember to do that and just give it maybe a minute or so just for people saying, "Oh, it's noon. I better log on."
Oh,
But we are going to be using the chat. I'm sure everybody's been on enough Zoom calls that you know where that's at. Uh, and and Eric, hello.
hello, hello.
All right. Well, I'm going to say we're going to get started. So, welcome to my book launch party. A little bit about me. I'm Lisa Ryan. This is book number 13. And how it came about is I've been working with my mentor, Randy Gage, and he challenged me to put together a couple ideas for what my next book was going to be. And so I said, well, I really want to have a book on succession planning because everybody's trying to figure out succession planning. Who's going to take over if the kids don't want the business? Are you going to go the venture capital route? Are you going to go any of these areas? And that was one idea. And then the other one, I said, well, with AI coming in and making all the decisions, are we starting to lose human judgment in manufacturing? Because Randy really kind of pushed me to see what is keeping people up at night. And so when it came down to the one or the two books, I decided Randy kind of went with the Age of AI book, with the Smart Plant book, because he said, Lisa, succession planning has been an issue for decades before, and it's going to continue to be an issue. So that will always be something that you can write about. But AI and the changes that we are going through right now and really removing a lot of human judgment. Because when automation came out, it was kind of like the humans were working with the robots. It was garbage in, garbage out. We figured it out, and there was still that the humans working there. But now AI is a lot of times making the decisions for people, and most of the time the dashboards are right. Now, I know that for me as a super user of AI, a lot of times I will have to tell chat, don't make stuff up because chat lies. Chat hallucinates. We know this. So, and then when you catch chat in a lie, it'll say, oh, I'm sorry, didn't, I was just assuming that these things were going on. So I want to again welcome my friend Jack Wolf. I haven't seen you for a long time. Tamsin, thank you. Jim, nice to see you. Rich, Tony, Kara. As more and more people join in, again, I'm Lisa Ryan, and I'm so thrilled that you are here to help me to launch this book. My and I don't know how many of you have had a chance to start with the advanced reader copy yet, but when I wrote, oh, thank you, good. When I wrote my last book, Gear Up for Greatness, it was 100% of a business fable because I had never written fiction and I kind of had this story in my mind like, let's see if we can actually write fiction. And I had so much fun with it. I actually got to understand the characters and what they would say and what they would do, and it was just really, really fun. Well, when Smart Plant was coming out, I didn't want it to be totally a fable because I wanted the book to be taken seriously. But I figured that if I started the book in the spring of 2030, so in the future, but not too far in the future, and then kind of work backwards as far as what Oak Ridge Industries was taking out of that human judgment that caused the failure to happen for the plant. We kind of worked all the way through that. So, a couple behind the scenes things. The reason why it's Oak Ridge Industries is that I live in the Oak Ridge development, and I just thought it sounded cool. So, it's little things that as an author you have the opportunity to do. But the reason, again, for those of you just coming on, that I have been working with manufacturers for a long time. A little bit about my background. I spent most of my career in sales, 13 of it being in industrial sales, including 7 years in the welding industry. And it was by far my favorite job because I got to see how everything was made. I got to go into the salt mine and steel mills and auto plants, and just to see. And I have this fascination of being around people who are excited about things that nobody else on the planet even thinks about. We take everything for granted. And yet, if we look around the rooms that we're in, every single thing that is in your room was made by somebody. So, focusing on my speaking business since October 12th, 2010, because that's the day my medical sales job was eliminated via group conference call. And I said, no company will ever do that to me again, complete with finger point. And I started my speaking business on that day. For the first probably 6 years of my business, I was focusing on employee engagement and workplace culture, but I was more of a generalist. And then in 2016 is when a friend of mine, we started talking about my speaking business to see where do I want to niche. And there was no question that it was going to be manufacturing. Because not only do we need to change the conversation of people to finding people to come into manufacturing, but when we work so hard to get them, we have to figure out how to make them stay. So as things got more and more automated, we saw a lot of automation come in. As a matter of fact, I had a guy on my podcast yesterday, and I was asking him why he went into automation. He had or into manufacturing. And one of the first things that he did when he walked into a plant is he saw a robot there. He's like, "Ooh, cool. I want to work on those." And I have been saying that for years, that robots are a really great recruiting tool because people will walk into a plant and say, "Ooh, that's cool. I want to work on that." And he verified again the things that I had been hearing. But the difference with AI is that it really is changing things, and we're starting to lose that human judgment. You have somebody that's been on the floor for, 30, 40 years, and they've built up this sensory library. I mean, they can smell, they can see, they can feel, they can hear when something is going to go wrong. And then you ask them, well, how do you know that? I don't know. I just do it. I just know. And so now with AI, you have the dashboards, everything is being monitored all the time. And most of the time, they're right. So if you have somebody, you notice the story with Oak Ridge Industries, that Marta thought that there was something wrong, but she also knew that management wasn't going to pay attention to her anyway. And that's what we're losing, because here you have this person with all of this experience, and yet when they bring their thoughts of what they think is going on to management is like, hey, dashboards are green, everything's fine, don't worry about it, we'll worry about it later. And that is just kind of putting in that cautionary tale as far as why this book needs to come out and why it's the right time for it. Because as we're adding more and more automation and using more and more AI, and also with a lot of the groups that I speak to, and Chuck, you've probably seen this too, doing a lot with manufacturing, is that there's more people leaving industry than we're actually attracting into it. So how are we maintaining that tribal knowledge that we have and capturing the knowledge from people who one day aren't going to be there anymore?
Very
And
much.
instead of having people just getting trained on dashboards, of making sure that we're having those conversations. So I just want to start out. I mean, I have all kinds, I have notes and points and everything, but I would like to hear from a couple of you who maybe have started the book or have gotten through it. You know, what are some of the main points that are resonating with you right now? And either in the chat or feel free to come off mute and talk to me.
Hey Lisa,
Hey, Pamela.
I've read the book. I'm a speed reader, and so I took some notes, which very happy to share with you. For me, it felt like this book's really not about AI in manufacturing. It's more about how leaders like quietly engineer human judgment out of the organization and what that
Right.
costs.
Yes.
Um, and so for me, the couple of quotes that really stood out. People don't listen to what leaders say about judgment. They watch what happens to the person who exercises it. And that felt like so true as a parent. Like I can say shit, but like it's what my kids see me do,
Right.
that is so much more
Yeah.
impactful. Um, Defaults teach faster than any training program ever will. That also deeply resonated as a sort of, one of the things that really emerged. And then you can't train your way out of a design problem.
Yeah.
Um, I felt more that this was like less, I felt like this was more about a leadership book than an AI book, right?
Right.
I feel like, that like for me, I was sort of thinking about the positioning piece of this and thinking that, AI is the vehicle, but this is really about what leadership looks like, right? And how do you show up as a leader? And how do you weave in your ability, your training, your uh, expertise, and your intuition. And I think that's one of the things that I've been taking my ex-husband to court for my 16-year-old recently, and my ex-husband said to the judge and really irritated him that ChatGPT leveled the playing field, which is why he hadn't hired a lawyer, because ChatGPT was like
Oh.
having a lawyer, which of course my lawyer was like, well, I went to law school and I've been a lawyer for 50 years, and the judge kind of nose bled,
Right, right.
and it's just, AI is amazing. I use it
It
all the time
is.
in my business. I love it. And yet we're
Right,
still human,
right.
right? And there's so
Yeah,
much in the human experience, either through what we've seen, done, learned, studied, reflected, that is hard to replicate in AI. And I felt like that thread was a beautiful thread, and then was amusingly mirrored in my personal life.
yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing that, because that really is, I wanted to have AI in the title of the book because it's
Yeah.
so funny when I go to these events and I speak at these events, and I know that if I am talking about workplace culture and attracting people and employee retention, all the stuff that everybody on the planet knows they need, but I am up against an AI class, everybody's
Right.
going there because that is
Right.
the new bright shiny thing that we
Right.
all think that we want to learn about, and it is changing everything. I'm sure that every single one of us has had AI change our lives in some way.
Mm.
And like you said, this is definitely a leadership book. I didn't want it to be a technical book about using
Mm.
AI. I know that I am a super user and I for my daily tasks, and it's helped me out a lot. But as far as the technical aspects and being able to train on that, I don't have an interest. I think that it is more just realizing that the more human we take out of the
Mm.
equation from a leadership standpoint, the harder it's going to be to attract and retain humans, because we
Mm.
want to be able to know that we're thinking, that we're judging, that we're using it. There were people think that we just want to show up, get a paycheck, and go home. It's like, no, we want to be able to know that we matter. So
Right.
did
Well,
you?
this is culture. Like, I mean, that the other piece of this that I felt was a sort of a common thread of this book, that it's a culture book almost in disguise, right? And that,
Right,
in that sense, marketing it towards like, HR, L&D, executive coaches, or development consultants, and so on. Because, culture, again, like we know from all of the studies on emotional intelligence that when you allow yourself to be known, when you create a community where being known is a good thing and is celebrated, you boost retention, right? You
exactly.
reduce burnout. All of the statistics are there, but it comes in from that angle that's often conceived of as like the soft skills of being open to
Right,
vulnerability and open. So to me, like that, like I almost felt like you could define this book as a culture book, right? Again, using
right.
AI
And
as the
that's
vehicle, right?
yeah, and that's really where my focus with everything that I do is really on workplace culture. So I
Mm.
see that Janice put in there if I interviewed a lot of people for the book. Yeah, part of this actually came from the Manufacturers Network podcast, which I know Chuck has been on. A couple people on here have been on my podcast. Scott's been on. And it is over more than 200. I think I'm in the 220 episodes, something like that. Jim was on it. It came out during the pandemic because we all know that lots of podcasts came out during the pandemic. Thankfully, mine is still going. I thought that it was one of the things that as my business went from thriving to gasping for air, I know I'll start a podcast. And the manufacturers network was really the opportunity to see what was going on in manufacturing and to talk to people. I've never really monetized it because I really enjoy, again, learning what people are doing in their plants and learning about the new technologies. It seems every other conversation that I'm having is something to do with AI as well. But taking all of that, and I had actually all of my podcasts are on YouTube, and I found this AI program that went through and basically I showed it the channel that the Manufacturers Network podcast was on, and it gave me all of the transcripts for all 200 episodes of it. It was over 1 million words of content that led to being able to distill the quotes and feature the people that I did in this book. So there was a lot of it was really fun to go through that, to relive some of those great conversations that I had with people. So let's see. So Tiffany, I started the book, and the book's really showing how AI is getting and creating lazy human beings. It's so funny because, yeah, we think that AI is a lot more powerful than it actually is. And if we don't realize that AI hallucinates and makes up stuff based on what it thinks, because remember, when at the beginning, when we had automation, the robots wouldn't do anything that the humans didn't tell it to do, but AI learns from itself. And sometimes it just extrapolates what it thinks is going to be the right answer. And I will tell it, don't make up stuff. Okay, fine. That's what I was doing. But I remember Tiffany's comment reminded me of a couple months ago when ChatGPT was down for the day and nobody posted on LinkedIn for that entire day because we have been so programmed. I don't know what the numbers are that uh, for posts that are generated by AI or helped with AI, but it's a remarkable number as far as that goes. So yeah, it does make us a little bit lazier. And on the other hand, it also gives us the opportunity to say things better in our voice and not have to spend as much time like poring over an email like how am I going to say this nicer, put it in
Yeah.
the chat and let chat help me out. So Jim, yeah, you had a question. You're on mute. I wonder if it's one of your microphones. Click on the bottom and see if there's a different microphone that your phone will pick that your it'll pick up.
While we're waiting for Jim, there is another comment in the chat from Scott Peters.
Uh-huh.
As I review scholarship applications from students around the world, I can quickly tell when they have tried to enhance their essay by using AI. They almost always lose points in the process. That's really fascinating because I have a friend that helps kids apply to
Yeah.
colleges.
Well, and I think that we are all becoming very cynical when we
Yeah.
see things because before Chat GPT, I guess M dashes were a real thing. I still don't know
Yes.
how to actually create one, but I
In
will tell
literature.
you,
Yeah.
if I see an M dash, I'm like, AI wrote that. If I see the word fluff, if I see the word quickly, if I see the phrasing, it's not this, it's this. So we figure out how we can still personalize it. It's still our personality because it does get to know us,
Mhm.
but it's just being aware that yeah, as right now maybe there are people that aren't familiar with everything that it can do and we can still get away with that, but for the most part it's we're in another year or two or less than that we're going to be able to see all of those patterns. So let's see. So, Rich, big takeaway. This is a paradigm shift leaders need to own. AI is never about what it can do, it's about what conditions your people stop doing. Yeah, if you notice in the further in the book, there's one woman that basically left because she wasn't feeling challenged anymore. We look at things on one hand, in my podcast episode yesterday, we were talking about automation and how a manufacturing plant decides what to automate. And in this particular plant, there was one that they were actually, it was an aircraft bearing or something, basically big parts coming off of a line. The metal is super hot and it takes two people. Now, I want you to imagine this because I was trying to imagine. It comes off the line and there's two people wearing full PP protective gear and taking that and turning it upside down to put it on the belt. And I'm like, that is a whole bunch of repetitive injuries, aside from the fact that it's hot metal, it has sharp edges, all of these things. So it was a natural starting point. That's what we do. And then instead of just saying, okay, well, you guys are done, you don't have a job anymore because we automated that, they actually took those two workers who are on that line and trained them to be technicians now, because we are going to need people that are able to run the equipment, that are able to maintain the equipment, to be able to see when things are going wrong. But it's still realizing that we still need to let people know that they can make decisions and they can have a big part in that process.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you. Sorry. I just got a new computer on Friday, so I'm working through all the bugs.
Oh yeah, there you go.
No, hey, I'm on chapter 4. Very insightful and very timely because I really appreciate how it puts AI into context in the bigger picture. Um, and I just wanted to comment. So in my line of work, we've been doing a lot of projects because there are so many manufacturers across the country that have heavily intensive manual processes that AI cannot,
Right,
mimic, or there's no data for it, to feel make sure it feels like this or sounds like that. And there's also so many machines that were built in the 60s and 70s, even before
right,
that. Look at all the screw machines in the
right.
40s during the war that are still humming along, making
Yep,
parts, but the people are retiring and the people coming in because of smartphones or AI or whatever don't have the patience to troubleshoot. They want
right,
they want an answer and they want it quick. So I really like how this book kind of highlights all of those areas and says, "Hey, wait a minute. It's almost like the first word in AI is artificial. It's not real. It's
right.
artificial."
Yes,
And there's a long way between artificial intelligence and, like you say, the human judgment and experience that they bring. I keep saying we got to build the next the what is it, that one book, The Greatest Generation, Tom Brokaw.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
We need to build the next greatest generation. It's going to look a little different, but we
Yeah,
need to get there because again, in my line of work, so many people come for those interviews and they don't know how to read a tape measure,
Yeah, they
let
don't know how
alone
to turn a wrench.
yeah,
I mean,
let alone a calipers
yeah.
and a micrometer and all the how that affects the manufacturing process and inspection and so to build a bulldozer or a rocket ship, there's a lot there. There's a lot that AI can do, but there's a lot that it cannot.
Well, thank you. And I think about the number one, the chance that my boss, when I joined the welding industry, took on me, years ago. I didn't know anything about welding, except that that was what held together the roller coasters at Cedar Point, because I would look at the weld beads while I was there. Cedar Point's an amusement park in Northeast Ohio, and it's awesome, roller coaster capital of the world. But when I think back of all the people that Dale could have hired, why me? Why somebody with no experience? But there was something about the energy, the excitement that I brought to learn something new. And I think that in manufacturing, when we're inviting people to come to our association meetings or looking for ways to get them involved so they can be around the people who are passionate about it, and then they can learn and we can show them the all the different processes, the AI that goes along with it. But instead of always focusing on industry experience to find people, because you are having young people come in that have grown up with AI and automation and apps, and they know it like the back of their hand and they see the world differently. So that we don't want to discount that knowledge. We just want to make sure that we're implementing that human judgment as part of the infrastructure. And that is really the line that goes through the whole book, is that judgment is just as important as inventory and accounting and finance and all the other things that we do, that we go through in our business lives to make sure that we're automating what we can to make people's lives easier, but also realizing that for the one-offs, like what happened with Oak Ridge Industries, is that if we don't pay attention, it can cost us a lot of money. Let's see. So I see Tamsin with the M dashes. That's kind of funny. I've used them for years too. Enjoying the quotes. Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Then that was, again, it was a lot of fun to be able to feature. I think there was probably 25 people, and that was, maybe 10% of the interviews that I did through the course of the book. But to do something like that, where it's not just my thoughts and my feelings and the research that I did, but the actual people that are on the plant floors, that are going through this every day, that does make a huge difference. And some of the things, let's see. So do you remember the computers? Yeah. Well, and make us more productive. Yes, that's what they were supposed to do. What was that quote from back in the 2000s? I think it was during the 1990s, when Thomas Watson from IBM thought that there was a market for like 10 personal computers in the world or something like that. So I think about how it is now, and I really, in the last 3 years, how AI has changed my life and my business. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like another 3 years from now. And I know my friend Eric deals with that every day on the AI side of the equation, and just the miraculous changes that we've seen everywhere. So in the concepts, and I want to get back to a little bit of my content here too, and that the three key concepts that are resonating throughout the book is, number one, that people don't leave jobs, they're leaving experiences. And if they're not having a good one, we've heard for years that people don't quit their jobs, they quit their managers. And that is a big part of it. I still get some head shaking every time I speak in an event. I know that 97% of the people that are there are going to be all into it, and they understand it, and they're trying to do things well. And then there's that small percentage that says, you know what, I can't find anybody that works for me. I mean, everybody's lazy. Nobody wants to be loyal. It's only about the money. I can't find anybody that wants to work. And what I want to say to them is, oh, honey, they're leaving you. But I don't say that because that's my inside voice. So when people aren't being seen, they're not feeling valued. They're just another number on a spreadsheet. And when they're I think that people are getting better at it. But when I first started talking about gratitude in 2010, a lot of what was going on is, why do I have to thank people for doing their job? They get thanked every Friday when they get
Yeah.
paid. And when we look at what it cost us from a time standpoint to recognize people, to catch them in the act of doing things well. One of the quotes that I share in just about all my programs happened several years ago. Guy came up to me after my program and he said, Lisa, when I do something wrong at work, I get recognized 100% of the time. And when I do something well, it rarely gets noticed. So if we want to really connect with our people, especially if we're a leader or an owner in a business, and our people are our most valuable assets, it's not just something that we have on the wall, it's not just something we say, but when we're treating them differently, that we're acknowledging them. Because we also know that there's going to be people who are going to jack you, right? No matter what business you're in, whether you're in manufacturing or not, you will always have people that they will work around. They will be creative in their ways of not to get work done. And so if I'm looking at two people and one of them is a rock star and the other one is a total slacker, how am I going to reward the rock star? With more work. And the slacker, they know. Now, I've tried to pretend, oh, he doesn't know that I really think that he's a slacker. Yes, he does, because your energy shows it. And if I start focusing on that person, okay, let me catch him in the act of doing something well and start to notice that and be authentic and sincere, my energy towards that person is going to change because now I'm looking for the good instead of looking for them messing up. The second concept, and this was again all through the book, that you cannot automate appreciation. Now, we want to be able to send our nice thank you notes, and maybe we have a little bit of chat so that it flows smoothly. But when it comes to it, there's so many programs out there that we can give virtual kudos to people and they can chalk up points and go to the catalog and pick out some gifts. And all that is fine and dandy. I mean, I remember when my dad, back way, way back in the day, was a banker and they would have contests. And I know Jack Wolf knew my dad really well for a long time. But I remember the first time that he won at work a microwave oven. It was literally the size of a small truck. But we were the first one in our neighborhood to have one. And so having those contests, giving people the opportunity to win things, all of that works great. And it's even better when you can catch that person with a handwritten note, with a specific recognition, instead of, hey, great job. Well, what was so great about it? I really appreciate the fact that you put in that couple hours of overtime where you were able to ship the product. The client was thrilled. And for some people, they'd be like, what are you thanking him for putting in overtime for? I mean, he made time and a half for those couple hours of making bank. No, because if I didn't take the time to recognize it, the next time I want that person to put in a couple hours of overtime, they're like, yeah, I got a hot date. I'm out of here. Because I didn't thank them and recognize them for doing it last time. So, I mean, there are things that we can automate. We can automate workflow. We can automate a report, automate scheduling. Scheduling has its own type of magic going on. But when you're looking for things where you're trying to make that connection, that you don't want to do it. So one of the things, and again, no matter what your role in, what your business is, today, find one person and just find a thing and find a way to thank them specifically for something they did. If after our time together you get off the call and you're like, who needs to hear from me today? Someone's going to pop into your mind. So either giving them a call or sending them a note in the mail. handwritten notes. And people say, well, Lisa, I can't do that. My handwriting's terrible. Well, suck it up in print. Okay. But what we're doing is we're giving people tangible evidence of a job well done. I mean, just this morning, I don't always make it downstairs in time before my husband goes to lunch, but today was one of those mornings that I wrote him a note and I stuck it in his lunch. I mean, I started doing that years ago. And now, mind you, the first one was to the world's most amazing husband from the world's most fabulous wife, something like that. And Scott actually took that post it note, put it on the wall in his cubicle, took a picture of it, and texted it back to me. And since then, he's got hundreds of those notes. And I'm very happy to share that April 13th, Scott and I celebrated 30 years of marriage. I know I got married when I was 12. Not really. But the point being is that in our personal lives, a lot of times the people who love us and support us the most are the ones that we take the most for granted.
Yeah.
Or we don't acknowledge them, or we take out our nasty mood and our nasty day on them because they just have to know I had a hard day. How about let's just get to neutral before we get home, and so that we can have a lot better evening with the people again who love us and support us. And then sounds like something AI would say. That's funny. Congratulations. Do you remember? Okay. Making sure that I'm getting everything here. And then the third concept is that human judgment still matters. And it matters to all of us, whether or not we're in a manufacturing facility or not. Sometimes we want to know we have that gut feeling, or we've seen it before, or we've been there, done that. But we want to be able to trust the people more than the dashboards. Or I shouldn't say more than, because a lot of times the dashboards are going to be fine, but we're automating so much that if somebody comes to you and they're like, you know what, I just don't think that I think that we're going to have a bearing burst like what happened with Oak Ridge. And so what happens, the other point that I make in the book is what happens from a punitive basis, like we shut down the line because this 40-year veteran employee told us that he felt that something was wrong with the machine, and it's precautionary. Well, if nothing was happening, it's like, look at all this time and money we just wasted because good old Joe over there thought that something was going to go wrong. Well, you know what? Next time, Joe's never going to share anything again because he saw what happens. If we know that some of this there's going to be errors there, that, people will be wrong or or make the wrong judgment, but we don't know that until a lot of times till it's too late. So with the plant managers that I've talked to, of paying attention to the people who have been there for 15 years or more, they don't always know how to explain it. I was working with one tool and die facility, and they were trying to capture that veteran knowledge that they had of people working there, and they would have their people wear like a GoPro camera so they could see what they were doing when they were machining. And it wasn't to the point of saying, well, the reason why I'm doing this is that I want to we are going to replace you with somebody younger and cheaper. No, you've been doing it this way for 30 years. We want your legacy to be that you'll be able to do it and continue for the next 30 years, whether you are here or not. And so just looking at, there's a point in the book in Oak Ridge where they had 8 managers on the floor, and they took a look at the business side of it, and they said, well, there's a lot of duplication and effort. What about if we took that and we got it down to only having 5 managers on the floor? And we think that makes sense. I mean, it's good on the bottom line. It just saved us a lot of money. We don't have to pay those extra benefits, all of this stuff. Yay. But what happened is that what we didn't take into consideration is when we had more managers, they were able to spend more time on the floor. talking to their people, finding out what's going on, building relationships, getting that behind the scenes kind of knowledge that they would not have gotten when they were running much leaner. Those managers didn't have the same opportunities to do that. So that's the thing that goes through the whole book, is just making sure that any decision that we are making, that we're looking at the possible consequences of that. So I just want to so any I'm
Hey,
looking.
Lisa.
Yeah. Hello.
Bob Madison. Bob Madison, can
Hi,
you hear
my
me?
friend. Yes, I can. How are you?
Good. I'm not on Zoom. I'm on a phone, so
Oh, that's okay.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I read the whole book, and for those of you that are listening to me now, met Lisa, in one of her strategy sessions at one of my businesses, and we've stayed in touch for, I don't know, 15 years maybe.
Yeah, a long
Um,
time.
I Yeah, so I'm retired now, but I've been in manufacturing 40 plus years, and I've worked on the plant floor as an engineer and then worked all the way up to leadership positions. I've been in 7 or 8 different industries, and I've held a variety of jobs from R&D to automation, HR. And my take on the book is it's a roadmap of, gives you key points that you need to pay attention to as AI, is coming down on all of us. My takeaway is just a couple of words: people power, and it's something I just coined. And I mean, that really resonated with me, relative to all of the things that you talked about. Everybody's comments really were people. So
Right.
we need to listen to them. Don't lose track of it, even if you get into leadership. And the real thing is, it really makes a difference to stay connected and pay attention to the people, on the floor.
Yeah. Absolutely. And even years later, I mean, Bob and I have been in contact for, like he says, 15 years after I worked with their company. My boss, Dale, I mean, I haven't worked for Dale since 2003, and he's still one of my dearest friends. Rich and I worked together back in the day as well, and we still stay in touch, actually, probably because we have the same birthday. So every year on April 14th, we get to wish each other that. But what are the relationships that you are forming in all of the areas of your life that last? A lot of times we leave an organization, and because we don't have the same things in common with those people that we used to work with, the relationship goes away or it changes, or we're saying, oh, we're going to stay in touch, we're going to stay in touch, but we don't. And so being in the industry, being involved with whatever associations, I know Janice and I are both and Eric are all in the National Speakers Association. And you think that, talk about a room full of competitors getting together, but we find a way to make the pie bigger, as our founder, Cavett Roberts, said. It's not about getting a bigger piece of the pie, it's about making the pie bigger. And that really is in the relationship. So some of the things, again, I encourage you to read the book. I'm so thankful. The official launch will be June 3rd. Again, and it's going to be a beautiful book. It's a hardcover. It has a dust jacket. You've already got the advanced reader copy. I'd love to make sure that the reviews are up. So the day that it comes out, as you've seen from my notes, that I'd love to get 50 to 100 Amazon reviews the day the book comes out. But if it doesn't come out, if you don't have it that day, it's also important, months later, because Amazon also takes a look at that. We're dealing every single day, we're dealing with algorithms, and we don't know when the algorithms are going to change day to day. But some of
They
the
don't either.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. People build a whole business, and then it's like, oops, let's change the algorithm. But some of the main points, and then I'll open it up again to watch what happens when somebody notices something that the data doesn't confirm. Okay, so again, are they getting in trouble? Are they a hero if they were right and a zero if they were wrong? We want them to be a hero just for speaking up, whether they were right or whether they were wrong. Thank you so much for taking the time to let us know that. Because if I'm a hero here and I'm a zero when it didn't happen, and now I'm afraid to say anything because what if I'm not right this time? Am I going to get in trouble again? I might as well just not say anything because I will look like more of a hero if I fix the problem than if I call to mind a problem that didn't happen. So, and part of doing that is giving people the explicit right to interrupt. You have the right. We want to hear from you. Before the dashboards turn red, you get that gut feeling. Your sensory library is giving you all of those warnings. We want to know and we want to document it, even if you don't think it's a huge idea, but we can capture that. The other thing that I really thought was important is to stop measuring only what happened. We need to start capturing when somebody paused before it happened. So we're looking at the actions that people are taking. That's the thing with AI is it looks at historical documentation as far as what happened, but it doesn't necessarily capture what happens if I stop the process, if I pause the line, if I ask the question beforehand. Marta is again in the fable side of the book. Marta had been there for 38 years. And then asking them if there's the one scene when Marta is training Kendra and there was a bearing that went bad and Marta explained to her exactly why that happened. And Marta tried to do that as she was going up through the training department. But again, they kept taking away hours. They kept making people sit in front of computers instead of having that one-on-one interaction with people who had been there for a while. And so how do we make sure we have the tenured employees? We want them to feel that they still matter, that their legacy matters, that their knowledge, skills, and experience still matter, and they're able to pass that legacy on to the next generation. And then what you measure trains people what to trust. So again, when people are coming to you and they want to share information with you, whether they're right and they're hero, or maybe they missed the bat and maybe they missed the mark on this one. But we want to be able to thank them and measure that as we're starting to build trust, because when there's no trust, people are going to leave. And so I'd love to open it up as far as we have about 12 minutes left. Again, make sure that what we're going to do, and I'm sure that the emails that you have been getting have been doing this, you have the review of the book. And even if you don't read the whole thing, you read enough of the chapters to be able to write a review on it. That is amazing. The reviews will come out, I believe, the day they have to be in on one day, and then you're going to get another email because we want to make sure that we get the reviews so that when the book comes out, you'll get another email that says, okay, yay, it's time to post your review. So now at this point, you don't even have to think about it. You just go copy and paste what you did and paste it in the Amazon. There's also going to be, this book is going to retail for $27. The reason for that, again, a little behind the scenes, I was going to have it for 25. And then I figured out that at that point, because it's a hardcover with a dust jacket, I was going to lose money on every sale from Amazon. So I was going to lose $1.41 per book. So it is now a $27 book. But the nice thing is you have the advanced reader copy. You will also have the opportunity to purchase it for 99 cents as a Kindle. The reason that we do that is because when you buy it for 99 cents, Amazon looks at that as a verified sale. So you don't have to go out and spend the $27 on the book to be able to be a verified sale. When the book first launches, that will be that buy it today for 99 cents and then leave your review in the next couple days after that. So questions, comments, excited feedback. Talk to me, people.
Are you going to have another more public launch event on June 3rd or June 2nd, like a
Yeah,
LinkedIn Live or something?
that I may do. June 3rd is going to be the launch party day, so that will be a
Oh,
public event. Yeah, that's a
okay.
public event. I'm going to have guest speakers. It'll be a whole thing. This particular training was specifically for people who
Yeah.
volunteered to be part of my launch team as a
Yeah.
way to give you a little bit of inside information, a little bit behind the scenes, and also to thank you profusely for being a part of my team because it really does mean a lot. What
So
else?
we'll get all that information about the big launch party.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Tamsin, thanks so much for coming. Crystal, it's nice to see you. Kara, Tony, I know we met at an event we were both speaking at, so it's just great to see. Any closing? So, you know what, Eric, I am going to come to you because you're the other AI guy. So, when you're looking at me from the human side of human judgment and AI, what are some of your thoughts as far as just where this is going that may be a general hint, tip for all of us?
But I love that you're writing in a manufacturing context and some of the same problems with respect to people using tooling, AI, robots in this instance, in your context, it's real. It's the current problem or challenge that we're having within IT, within technology, specifically software development. That's the area in which I work in. And what do these teams do when you can vibe code something that's almost good enough in the weekend, then why are we, then what do these teams do for weeks over weeks? And so it's very disruptive in a good way. And so it's moving the constraint around, so we can generate more code faster now than we ever have been able to before. And now the bottleneck is on the human to review it because just
Right,
because we can generate it doesn't mean it's good. And the basic principle of engineering, garbage in, garbage out, like we're still subject to that. So anyway, it's fascinating. I'm only a couple pages into the book, but I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. You and I run into the same, well, we talked about this, we run into kind of the
right.
same problem, even though different industries.
Yeah. And I think it shows up in all industries. This book happens to focus on manufacturing, and I know I had a couple people that I reached out. Well, it's not really my market. I'm not really sure. And I loved what Tamsin had said earlier about it really being a leadership book that we could apply to all different types of situations, no matter what we had. And so, Scott Peters, I'm going to come to you because I know you've been in industry and around for a long time. So, what are some of the things you're seeing when it comes to AI and all the things that we were talking about?
Well, yeah, I guess I should be retired instead of
Yep.
semi-retarded. Uh, I've been at this for over 50 years. And what I'm seeing is that AI is it's there. And the comment that I put up on the chat regarding scholarship reviews, it's being adapted, but it's not being adapted properly, in my opinion. It's like, oh, I got this tool. And as Eric just said, he can generate tons of code faster than he even can think about it. But is the code any good? The
Right.
same is true with people using AI for writing. Yeah, I can generate words. ChatGPT, it's amazing. I can generate all kinds of stuff. And what I see is that they just they just plug it in and let it run, and they're like, you read it and you go, this is gibberish.
Right.
So yeah, it's important that we kind of adapt to this AI revolution and all that's supposed to hit the world. But I guess I'm kind of a skeptic at where it's
Yeah.
going to be in manufacturing. I know young people love it. And I heard a couple comments about, well, there's no young people coming into the manufacturing world, and I beg to differ. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
they are, but not as many as we need.
and that's because we don't give them a compelling story. So I'll put on
Right.
my advocate hat for apprenticeship training. If we don't tell them there's something bigger for them, that they're contributing to the greater good in some way, why would they want to do it? That's the generation we're in.
Right.
They want to know that what they do has intrinsic and lasting value, not just, okay, I went to work and I cranked the handles on a Bridgeport for 40 hours and I went home and said, okay, there we are. There's a check. I got my $10 an hour. Uh,
Right.
the other side of it is that when they do use the AI properly, when they find that magic nugget, they need to be praised in public.
Yeah.
Uh, and if they use it incorrectly, they need to be corrected in private.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
old
That is
school, I'm going to drag your fanny out in the middle of the floor and chew on you for 20 minutes is like, oh, not going to be worth a darn, right?
right.
Because if you do that, they're going to be the ones that walk out the door, or they're
Yeah.
going to be Floyd, who's been running that screw machine for 40 years, and you just told him he didn't run it right, and he's never going to tell you again when he hears a bearing going out.
Right. And this exact, I mean, again, it's a leadership book. The way that
Yep.
we treat people, whether you are in banking or manufacturing or accounting or finance or, plumbing and heating like Crystal is, in that industry, it doesn't matter. We want to make sure that we are connecting with our people, that we're recognizing them for the good work that they do, that we're giving them the opportunity to learn and grow and seeing them sometimes even more than they are seeing themselves, to
Hmm.
be able to put that, your judgment, it matters. And so
Absolutely.
I am very grateful for all of you. Again, I cannot thank you enough. I know that the link will be sent out to all the people in my team. Nelson, you're very welcome. Tony, thanks for joining. I know Eric just left. We are coming on the top of the hour, but feel free to keep in touch with me. Any questions you have, any observations, I'm really looking forward to reading your reviews and hearing from the rest of you as you go through the book. And I hope that it is very helpful and that you also share it with as many people as possible so that we can get this word out. So, Crystal, thank you. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. We are all multitasking. Crystal, if I wasn't on this call doing it, I would probably be multitasking too. So, and you rock as well. All right. So with that, and feel free again to hang out. I'm going to end the recording in a second or two, but I really appreciate you and thank you for coming.
All right.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
Lisa.
Bye.
Well, hey, Lisa, did you reach out to my apprentice?